Where's the camera? There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Sanch here, your host here on the Bodybuilding News Network. Welcome back to a special installment of Two Bros, One Pod with our good friend over at CPC Bodybuilding. Originally, it was the Classic Physique Collective, and Brant went through some rebranding, and I think it worked phenomenal. Uh,
Yeah,
Brant,
man.
welcome back to the channel.
Thanks, dude. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on, talk bodybuilding with the homies. So
Heck yeah, talking bodybuilding with the bros. So we were actually talking for quite a bit before the camera was running or for the recording was running. And we wanted to do, and we've been talking about this for a few days at least. We wanted to do some kind of end of the year recap for the men's classic physique division. And I wanted to bring on, in my opinion, the expert for men's physique or men's classic physique in the pro league, and probably even more in the novice as well. He very knowledgeable. And what was actually pretty cool was Brant already did so much cool stuff on his channel for like the end of the year highlights. And I did want to show you guys it real quick. But Brant, walk us through what was the thought process going into making all these comparisons and kind of you owning your own kind of award show.
yeah, sure, man. So I did this last year too. I started the CPC bodybuilding page back in late 2021. Kind of, I think it was the Texas Pro was the very first show I covered in August of 21. And the idea of my channel was to give more of a platform to everyone in classic where we have ESPN and Sports Center and whatnot. They cover all kinds of athletes in every sport. And in my opinion, classic physique at the time wasn't getting more of the broad coverage. Like
Mm.
a lot of guys who deserved coverage weren't getting it. And I got love for Chris Bumstead. He's done so much for our division, so much for bodybuilding, the most popular bodybuilder on the planet right now. Like guys like him, Ramon, Urs, guys like I've met all of these guys and they're great dudes too. But there's so many talented athletes in classic, and the whole point of the channel and these awards was to recognize so many of these guys who just work their butts off, year in, year out. These guys are dedicated to this lifestyle. They put their heart and soul into this, and really just to recognize them for the work that they do. And just these guys are some of the best athletes on the planet in my opinion. So just recognizing their work and bringing recognition to some of these guys who may not be recognized otherwise. So,
Mm.
like especially guys like Vahid Badpe from Iran. A lot of these guys from the Middle East, they don't get the coverage from American outlets. Daniel started to, cover a lot more Middle Eastern guys as the years have gone on. Because
Yep.
I've followed Daniel for years, and I know you have.
Yep.
But
Bodybuilders Without Borders. Yep.
yeah, nobody talked about this guy.
Mm.
Nobody
Yeah, I didn't
until
even
I
recognize him, honestly.
yeah, until like I knew he won the Thailand Pro last year. And I
Oh,
saw this guy, I was like, dude, like I saw his condition, I was like, this guy is nasty peeled. Just crazy separation. Like, I mean, I've seen some crazy condition guys, and this guy stuck out to me. I was like, this guy is gonna be so talented, and he's gonna win shows in the future. And I saw he was on the lineup card for Sharu this year. I was like, well, he's definitely going to the Olympia. And going
mm.
into the Olympia, knowing the standard is always condition, you're going to notice that in classic, especially, everyone in the first four callouts is just stupid peeled, like stupid separated. Like if you show up in shape at the Olympia, that'll carry you far alone. Now, if you got the structure and the lines and the muscularity to pair with it, that elevates you even higher to like that's kind of what separates the top 10 from the top 20.
Okay.
But I mean, I knew this guy was going to be in contention just looking at his physique, and I put him in my top 10 predictions back in I think I made my predictions in like early October, about a month before the Olympia. And I was like,
Oh,
this guy, I think I predicted his exact placing. I was like, this guy's gonna be ninth place. He
wow.
he took ninth place. And a lot of people, like after seeing me predict him, And then also seeing him place in the top 10, they're like, who is this guy? He's crazy. So he went
Hmm.
from virtually unknown to one of the best in the world in a matter of a year. And guys like that aren't going to get recognition unless the people like me talk about them. So
Right.
we got to be putting these guys in the conversation. That's why I think what not only myself but you for all these divisions, we're
Yeah.
doing important stuff, and a lot of people need that recognition because nobody else is going to give it to them. So
Yeah.
that's just kind of the idea with the whole awards. So just recognizing those guys who deserve it.
Heck yeah.
This guy's a dog.
Yeah. I mean, he looked crazy shredded.
Yeah. And then also Eric, man, his story's nuts too. He was a men's physique pro just 2 years ago, made his
Oh,
classic debut because he was one of those guys I actually found out from watching Hart's channel, Hart McGrath,
yeah.
the OD of men's physique commentary, fantastic
Yep.
at what he
Just hit 100,000
and
today.
yeah, I mean he deserves it, man. He works his ass off.
Yep.
And I first saw Eric on his channel because I followed men's physique a little bit, but kind of in the periphery.
Yeah.
And I knew Eric was one of those up and coming guys in men's physique, though he didn't really, break through. And then he switched over to classic in 2022. He was kind of like a first call out here and there guy. He was kind of in between like that first and second call out, depending on the show.
Mm.
Posing was a little iffy and whatnot because he had just switched divisions.
Posing's huge. Yeah.
But man, when I went to Pittsburgh and I saw him in person this year, he was right there with the bull. Like I saw him come out. I was like, dude, this guy leveled up in just a
Wow.
year. Tremendous improvements. And the thing about Eric that impresses me the most is he's got like the tall frame and whatnot, so your eyes are drawn to him. But he's not the most genetically gifted in terms of bodybuilders that I've seen. Like he does have kind of like a wider waist, and I say that as somebody who the way my rib cage structure and my hips are, I have a bit wider hips and a
Hmm.
big cage too, and I have to pose around that. Eric does a fantastic job of posing around that and still looks extremely classic in the process. And just the improvements he's made from going from a men's physique pro who was kind of like first and second call out to then a classic physique guy who really had trouble posing to a guy who was battling with top 10 in the world and going to the Olympia in just his second year in classic. Like,
You
I
don't
mean,
see
it's
that very
crazy
often.
strides. Yeah, crazy improvements that he made in just a year. Like night
And
and
that's why he got most improved.
oh, absolutely, man. Because
Mm.
I couldn't think of a guy like the way I kind of did this was last year I let people vote on these. This year I was just like, I'm gonna just go with like whoever I think like I'm gonna think of an award just off the top of my head who I think deserves it is getting it. So um I mean to me he was the very first guy that I thought of. I was like nobody improved as much as he did.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember him at Pittsburgh. I didn't know you traveled there, so that's actually pretty cool.
Mhm.
You went to quite a few shows last year.
Yeah, let me think, man. So I started really, really strong to begin the year, but then with my own contest prep,
Yep.
I got to go to the one pro show that was, with my amateur competition. But I started out with the Arnold, so I'll be there again this year. But Arnold and Pittsburgh, and then I didn't get to go to the O, but
Yep.
I did go to Hurricane. So Hurricane was dope too. But
Hmm. What
and
else
then
was?
Matt Grego, man, what more could I say about this guy? He went from men's physique pro in 2021. He was getting like somewhere around. I think he had a one third place finish, but most of the time he was like kind of in that 5 to 7 range in men's physique.
Uh-huh.
So he turned pro at Universe in 2020, I want to say, men's physique. It was either 2019 or 2020. Then he had like his rookie season in men's physique. He was working with Neil Hill and he was improving, but like, man, when he started working with Aceto, that's when things just like turned up a notch. So he went from in late 2021 being kind of like like, edge of the first call out guy in men's physique shows.
Yeah.
And he had some really crazy personal stuff go on. Like he had, and he'd be open about this because I actually started following Matt from his YouTube channel before I had, eventually met him. But
Okay.
he had a really, really crazy bout with depression. Like he
Mm.
had like some really, really rough stuff going on. And he came back from it really strong. Started off the year in classic physique. He made his classic debut at New York, took sixth there, which that lineup was stacked. It had three or four Olympians in it.
Hmm.
And then he went from there to, I believe, Chicago. I think he took either second or third at Chicago. He took second behind Carlos Domar at Atlanta. So he's like knocking on the door. And then he talked to Weinberger and he was like, "Hey, what do you think? Should I, shut it down? Like, what's the feedback here?" And Weinberger said, "Go do another show." So he did Tampa, won the Tampa Pro in his first year in Classic, and then went to the Olympia. And
Wow.
he's probably one of those guys who I think he's got like crazy star power because he's got some big sponsorships. He's a really good coach. His athletes are winning a lot of shows kind of in the Pennsylvania region,
Okay.
and he's sponsored by Young LA. He's got a huge following on his YouTube too. So he's one of those guys who is like really on the come up, and I think he's got great star power. A lot of people look up to him. Very young guy too. I think he's younger than me, man.
Wow.
And I'm 27, so like Matt's a pretty young guy to be on the Olympia stage. So
And where did he place at the O?
he didn't place.
Oh,
Only
okay.
so only 15 guys, as
Yep. Yep.
placed. And I so I don't remember which call out specifically he was in. I'll be honest with you, I stopped paying attention most of the time after the
It's
third
tough.
call
Yep.
out when there's six or seven call outs. So
Yep.
um but I mean he was, hanging there, that like he beat Carlos Domar, and I think Carlos finished 11th at the Olympia this year. So he beat Carlos in Tampa.
Wow.
Carlos beat him in Atlanta, but Carlos finished 11th at the Olympia. So I mean, to be
That's the
able to
guy with the
say,
glasses, right?
yeah,
Yeah, he
that
looks
Venezuelan
good.
guy.
Yep.
Yeah, he's insane, man. He was one of those guys who was in contention for an award, but I ended up going with because I was gonna put him up there for underdog of the year, but I was just like, Vahi bad pay, man.
Mm.
He deserved it. But
Yeah.
Carlos is right there too, man. He's got to be one of my favorite guys in terms of just like purely looking at his physique.
Mm.
He's just got everything you look for.
So
But
so
Matt,
finishing up with Matt, if you were in Steve's seat, what kind of feedback would you give Matt for the 2024 season?
I think really the only thing that Matt needs to continue to do is work on his back. That's the big
Mm.
like criticism, and he knows that.
Yep.
His front shots are lights out. He's got, like, as you can see here in this ab and thigh with the vacuum, from top to bottom, he's got fantastic symmetry. So not only vertical symmetry, so like, at the waist, but also, horizontal. It's crazy. Like left to right, top to bottom symmetry is there. He's got insane lines. Like for how young he is, I think his muscle maturity is very impressive. But the back is the biggest thing. I
Yeah.
think he just needs more muscle back there, and he's been putting tissue on like nobody's business. So I think he'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely needs some more density. He's got the condition. He's got the structure's good. The symmetry's good. Just yeah, needs more of that 3D pop.
Yeah, and he'll definitely get there with. I mean, he's put on just so much muscle since even men's physique a year or two ago, and that's why everybody was like asking if he's moving to open.
Oh Lord. Not
But I don't
everyone needs
I
to go
don't
to
think he
open.
is. I don't think he is, as
I
far
don't
as I know.
yeah, I don't know. You, if you win a pro show in your first year of classic, I mean just stick it out and see where you're going to go next.
Yeah, you might as well, unless if you're really just having a hard time making weight.
Yeah, I mean if you can't make weight then I get it. But
But
yeah,
also
he
that's
looks
such a
pretty
huge
sharp.
jump to make because it's like if you go from classic to open, that's 2 full years off that you have to take. Most guys can't just unless if you're like a guy who's above 6 foot, 6'1", and you're
Yeah.
already a clean 240, 245 on stage. Most of the time, you're just not going to be able to hang with the open guys size wise.
Hmm. Man, I was so excited for Neil Curry before he passed. I thought he was going to be just a freak factor in open.
Yeah, he was one of my favorites, man. So
Yeah.
that was rough to see him go because man,
Yeah.
he was a good guy and he was a really good bodybuilder too.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah, that one hurt this year. That one stung pretty good. Yeah. Oh, Damien, I remember him. He won
Mhm.
the oh man. He won the what was that California show?
So he won Ultimate Warriors in Anaheim.
Anaheim.
So
Yeah. Yep.
dude, he snuck in last second and grabbed that one. So that was 2024 qualifier. So he's already got his Olympia qualification for next year.
Wow.
So he's already locked in. He won mid USA. That was his first pro win. And
Oh yeah. Yeah.
like Damien's one of those guys. I gave him Breakout Star this year because he is a guy that like people have known about for the past, I would say 2 or 3 years. And he's not a mainstream name, but he's one of those guys who, if you follow Classic, you know
Yeah.
who he is because he's been second, third in a lot of these really tough shows, and he can compete with some guys who've done damage in Classic. And it was just really like figuring out the condition. It was crazy because I was talking to his coach David at the Arnold this past year because they just started working together. I
Okay.
think earlier in 2023, right before the Arnold Classic.
Mm.
And I mean, I was singing Damien's praise. I was like, dude, I like because I knew David's a great coach. If you don't know him, David Demesquita,
Okay.
fantastic coach. And I was like, I mean, I know how he brings guys in peeled. I'm like, that's the only thing Damien's had to really work on. And sure enough, they figured it out this year because Damien was placing, second, third in a lot of these shows without razor sharp condition.
Hmm.
And he started coming in peeled and they figured out the condition. So that's what ended up winning him the mid USA and then the Ultimate Warriors because Damien's shape, like you can see in this front shot, there's not a lot of guys who can contend with that.
He's got a lot of density built on there.
Yeah, a lot of muscle maturity. And when you see him in person, man, he's a big dude. Like there are people who question, they're like, is this an open guy? Because he's just
Does
one
he
of
make
those guys.
weight?
Yeah, he makes weight too. I mean, he's close to the cap, but he is a huge guy. Like
He looks massive.
he's got a lot of pop. Beautiful structure too, man. Like one of those guys who it's like genetically gifted and he's got the work ethic.
Oh, I would like to see him next to Wesley.
Yeah, yeah. I
The
see
that
him.
lat taper looks very familiar.
Yeah.
We'll get to see that in 9.5 weeks.
Yeah, because Damien is making his Arnold Classic debut. I'm really stoked for him. He
Yeah.
deserved that, man.
Yeah, I
With
saw his announcement video when he was grocery shopping. He was like, "Yeah."
yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't think he was expecting it, but I mean,
No.
after winning 2 pro shows in a year,
Yeah,
Olympia
you got to throw a guy a
debut,
bone.
yeah, yeah, he deserves it, man. And he's got a pretty poppin' YouTube page from what I understand. I think a lot of people have been following him for a while because he was one of the OGs, I guess, in terms of like YouTube workouts.
Oh, wow.
A
Okay.
lot of people like know him from that. And then he was, really making waves in classic after the fact. So,
Heck yeah.
but man, I was so impressed by what he did this year. It was just like that one thing he needed
Mm,
was a good coach
yeah.
to really just help him tweak just a couple of things, and he's right there.
Wow.
He had all the tools all along.
Well, congratulations, Damien, and his coach. Is it Dynamite D?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's Dave.
Yeah, I can see him right there. David Demesquita.
Yeah,
Cool.
definitely one of the most underrated coaches in the game right now.
There you
Would
go. I'll
would
throw him a
highly
follow.
recommend if you guys are looking for a coach and you're watching this. He's great. So very knowledgeable guy.
Heck yeah. What else?
Oh, and then
Okay.
we got Antoine. Yeah. So Antoine Loth from Spain. This guy just, oh my God, he did everything that you could imagine in a matter of like 6 months. So he went from amateur to two-time Olympia qualifier in a
Whoa.
matter of from literally June to December. So I put a timeline there just to give everybody kind of a perspective. So Antoine competed in men's open bodybuilding. So as an amateur, because
Wow.
dude's massive, huge guy, and as you can see from this photo, he's just got like crazy size. So he won the amateur Olympia Spain in bodybuilding, got his pro card there. He competed in the pro show, I believe, as a classic physique competitor. He placed relatively well too. I think he was top five.
Okay.
And then in July, actually, I think he finished second in that show, right next to Herman Pastor, the Spanish guy who
Yeah.
won.
Oop,
He
yep.
ran he ran the table this year. He won like two or three shows
He
too.
did. Yeah. I remember him. Yep.
Yeah. So he was second in his pro debut, literally the day after winning his pro card. And then he won the Mr. Big Evolution in Portugal in July.
Hmm.
And that was against Stefan Matala. That was Stefan's first show.
Oh, okay.
So
Wow.
he went there and he beat him. So I mean that's
Big
yeah,
statement.
huge. So that was his first Olympia qualification. Then in October, he won the Iogenics Spain Pro to qualify him for the Olympia next year. And then he went to the Olympia and got third call out, which is, somewhere in that 15 to 20 range because I think he technically got a DNP. So he was somewhere in between 16 to 20 based on
Okay.
that being in the third call out.
Yep.
And then, so that's two Olympia qualifications in his first year as a pro. And then he just got invited
And
to
then,
compete at both of the Arnold Classics, which is just insane. Like this guy did more in 1 year than most guys do in their entire career.
yeah.
And to me, that deserves Rookie of the Year. And there were a lot of good rookies this year. A lot of guys who I think can be top guys in Classic. This coming from this rookie class.
Yeah. Gosh. I can't even fathom how impressive that is.
Yeah, and he's a super chill guy too. So I mean, all the better to see a lot of these guys are just, they're class acts too. So
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, especially when you bring on those guys for the when you bring pros on for your preview videos, it's just so cool to just have such a variety of athletes come on and just see who they are beyond the stage, you know?
yeah. And a lot of these guys, they're super dope guys, just very humble, hardworking guys who just love bodybuilding. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Let's jump back into it. We were talking about, I'll have to figure out how to cut this perfectly, but you were talking about, I think we were just finishing up with Anton.
Yeah, we just finished up with Antoine.
Yeah. And Michael DeBoul. How do you say this? I think I always mess it up.
Yeah, it's the Bool.
DeBoul, dang it. DeBoul. So you think this guy's the most conditioned?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, man. I
Yeah.
mean, last year he didn't win it last year because I did leave it up to a people's vote.
Uh-huh.
And my boy Barb's Anthony Barbera the third got it, which I mean he's fucking peeled too.
Yeah.
Algorithm will curse that, but
I think you get one F word, so it should be
Oh, okay,
fine.
cool. I'll use it there. I'll
Yep.
use my one pass.
Yeah. If there's
Uh,
another one, I have to click a different button on the monetization.
yeah. Um, but yeah, Barb's was peeled last year. But do you want me to share, by the way?
Yeah, go
Or
ahead if you want. Sure.
share?
I think you
Oh,
have
it
the.
says it's disable.
Oh, is it? Oh, I'm the worst.
That's all good.
Oh, I'm not sharing. My bad. That's why you asked.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want people to be able to see, especially if we're talking about condition, they got to see it.
Um,
And it's even crazier in person too, man.
yeah. I mean, I I remember when Derek Lunsford got on stage, he was stupid shredded. But then you
Yeah,
look at the photos and it just wasn't the same.
oh,
But
I mean, even the like the crappy phone quality videos that people were
yep.
getting, you can just, yeah, I mean, you can tell he just hard as nails. That was the thing that differentiated that back shot because there are a lot of guys who are separated and big, but like Derek is just crazy, crazy hard.
Yeah. Well,
That's what Michael
I was
is.
only in the fourth row for prejudging at the Olympia for prejudging at the expo. I was sitting in like the third or fourth row. So I had like the best seating. I was able to zoom in like straight on Chris Bumstead's butt and just you could see like every single ripple of conditioning.
See bums bum.
Yeah, I had great footage of classic prejudging. It's on the channel. But yeah,
But yeah,
Michael
Michael
DeBoul,
DeBoul, man.
DeBoul.
Just a great year for him too. We talk about guys who ran the table. He
Yeah.
won two of the most prestigious shows in all of bodybuilding. You know,
Hmm.
Jim Mannion's Pittsburgh Pro, which is a huge deal,
Yep.
which I was there to see him win that one. So he won that show. Pretty dominant fashion too. Like him and Eric Wildberger were in a call out by themselves, but everybody knew that DeBoul was going to win
Yeah.
just based on his condition was just a notch above everybody else's, and on top of it, Michael's got great shape, and not a lot of people talk about that, and I believe he deserves a great deal of credit for it. So his shape, his condition, like the hardness, and he's one of those guys, man. He's never off, never
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. Now that you
I've
mentioned it, I don't
never seen him and be
know.
like, oh, he's a little watery or whatever. Like this guy is just crazy, crazy consistent. He works with Patrick Tor too, so
Oh,
um, I think that also the great coaching has a lot to do with it too. They've been together for a while, so he won the Pittsburgh Pro, then he went to New York the next week, won that show, beat a bunch of Olympians,
hmm.
and later in the year he went to Austria, which so the Austria show I believe was that was just a couple of weeks ago, if I'm
Yeah,
not
that
mistaken.
was like the last qualifier.
Yeah, so that one was 2024. So
Oh,
he did the Olympia this year, got sixth place, and then he's like, "Ah, I'm in shape anyways. Let's go to Austria. Let's go get a 2024 qualification."
yep,
Even though everybody knew this guy is not gonna he's not gonna skip out on the Arnold UK
yep.
because two-time champion. He's won both of the Arnold UKs and he's going
Wow.
third this year, which that's gonna be a crazy one. He's at the Arnold Ohio and the Arnold UK.
Yep.
That's probably the matchup that I think is the most interesting because he really made a big jump this year, and not a whole lot of people have talked about what kind of a jump it is to go from 10th to 6th in a year. That's quite a jump. So that's basically kind of on the edge of second call out to being in the first call out at the Olympia, which is huge in my opinion because there wasn't really a whole lot of movement. The entire top five was with the exception of Mike Sommerfeld moved back, but everyone who was in the top five had been there at least twice before. So you had
Mm,
Chris, Chris, Ramon, Urs, Breon, Terrence. I mean, those are in my opinion, those guys have been consistently the best five in classic in the past 3 or 4 years,
yeah.
undoubted.
Yep.
Even though, Terrence finished sixth last year and Mike Sommerfeld took that fifth place spot. But I mean, I think Michael is well on his way to potentially breaking into that top five, especially given we've seen a little bit of volatility over the past couple of years with that top five. There's
Yeah.
been some shuffling. I'm a huge fan of Breon, but there's only so long Breon's going to be able to go. Michael's probably 15 years younger than Breon,
Wow. Yeah.
so like I think Michael's in his like mid 30s, so early mid 30s, so he's still got plenty of years left in terms of bodybuilding. He's definitely in his prime, kind of that early to mid 30s is when a lot of people
Yeah.
stride.
Well, I think that's the last one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was the last one. We didn't go over Nate though. So
Oh,
Nate,
do we miss the guy? Oh
yeah,
yeah,
Nate,
Nate. Yeah, we scooched by him.
yeah. So Nate won best pro debut. Crazy story here too. Nate was Mr. USA in 2022. So he
Mhm.
just turned pro last year. And I think USA's are in July. So he won Mr. USA and took the entire offseason to grow. This was his pro debut at Hurricane. I ran into him at check-ins, which was kind of funny too. I was like, "Hey
Wow.
Nate, what's up, man?" Like, it was the first time we had met, and I know you're gonna do really well in this show." And sure enough, he went and won the whole damn thing, and he
Yeah.
deserved. He was great, fantastic shape. He was one of the most conditioned guys up there, one of the better posers in the show as well. And I think Nate's got tremendous potential in classic because he's a really, really hard worker. He's one of those guys who like he's in shape year round.
Yeah.
Um, he's not scared to like, put on size and eat, but like he's always in that striking distance that
Mm.
a lot of the old school guys talk about. Like Nate could probably be ready for any show in 6 to 8 weeks.
It's a massive advantage if you know you can drop the hammer real quick and just jump into something.
Absolutely, yeah. When the
Yeah.
time you just strike. And Nate's one of those guys. He's a super young guy too. I think I want to say he's like 26 or 27. He's a young guy.
Man.
Got tremendous upside. So
Yeah.
big fan of his.
Yeah, he looks great. He looks really dense. Like that's a really good pose on him. That side chest.
And he's a really good height for classic too. He's like, 5'9", 5'10", which is
Okay.
I think that's like very, very nice height to have. That's because I think probably the most advantageous height to be is in terms of the balance of being able to see visible density, but
Yeah.
also like have stature that people's eyes are drawn to. So you're not too short, you're not too tall. Whereas
Mm.
like, maybe a guy who's like 5'5", 5'6", they're gonna have trouble with the weight cap, though they'll have density, they might get overlooked. Whereas if you're looking at a guy who's like 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", they might have the stature, but they're gonna probably lack the density, right?
Yep.
I think that sweet spot's kind of the 5'9" to 6 foot range. And Nate's got like I think he's got a very ideal classic look to him. So tremendous potential.
Huh. Well, exciting. I mean, I think it's super dope if I could say that. That there's so many young guys just rising through the ranks so quickly.
Mhm.
And that's
Absolutely.
such an iconic look.
The
Man,
Rock.
yeah, he's killing it. Oh, well, that's a recap of Brant's CPC bodybuilding's breakdown of his awards. And that'll do it for part one of the CPC Bodybuilding and BNN's recap of the awards ceremony for Classic Physique. Make sure you stay tuned for part two, where we talk about the 2024 Arnold Classic Physique lineup and recap the 2023 Classic Physique Mr. Olympia lineup. Thanks for watching. I'm your host here on BNN, Josh Sanj. Please consider subscribing and helping me retire my parents in 2024. And I'll see you in part two, being uploaded today, New Year's Eve. Thanks for watching.